Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Age of Quarantine. My name is Chris Enriquez and I'll be your host tonight. It's been a really exciting week. We had a amazing episode on Tuesday with Blair Sheehan from Knapsack, Jealous Sound, as well as Racket Club. Great band. If you missed that interview, you could watch it right here on the St. Vitus Instagram channel. It'll eventually end up on my YouTube channel as well with all the other episodes. And with that being said, you hear some music in the background. That is one of my favorite songs by the band Braid. I grew up listening to these guys, and I've had the pleasure of befriending a few of these guys over the past few years. Really nice fellows, and I love Frame and Canvas, which is just such a timeless album. Really into Hey Mercedes as well. Great band. Seen both of them many times over the years. And we have the lead singer, Bob Nanna, who will be joining us right now. We're going to get him on the screen. If you guys have any questions, feel free to use the question mark at the bottom of the screen. I'll try to get to it at some point. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get Bob. Hey, Bob. How's it going?
Hey, Chris. How are you? I'm doing all right.
Awesome, man. Welcome to... what's up?
Is my audio okay? I was having problems with this microphone.
No, dude, you're actually fine. I should have mentioned sometimes people like to use earbuds, but you look and you sound fantastic, so it's great.
Oh, please.
Hell yeah, man. Well, you're I can see your followers are tuning in now, and they missed my whole intro, so I'll just kind of give everybody a brief here. This is a web series called Age of Quarantine on the St. Vitus channel. My name is Chris Enriquez, and we're gonna have some fun tonight, Bob. I like to tell everybody this is like a glorified therapy session, but in public in front of a bunch of people. If that's cool with you, I'm just gonna dig in.
That's 100% cool with me. I can't wait. We could all use some therapy, I think.
I think so too. But this is gonna be fun stuff, man. So, well, first off, how have you been doing throughout this entire year of insanity?
I've been weathering it, I think, decently well. I put together a plan of attack when it became pretty clear that we would have to stay inside for a few months at the beginning of March. So I do better when I have like a schedule or a routine or something like that. So I put that together. It included going out for a walk, doing creative stuff like writing lyrics or writing just journaling or playing guitar. I tried to do a lot of yoga and stuff or whatever. I was really oddly proactive about prepping for what could have been pretty devastating, I think, on someone's mental health.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I'm so used to like similar things, I'm sure, to what you're used to between like socializing, playing music, whether that's just practicing on your own or with people or whatever, go to see shows, so I don't know what to do with myself when you take those things away from me. So it definitely forced me in a similar way to just kind of like look inward and try to this show that we're doing right now was part of that, because I'm like, this replaces socializing at a bar or at a show, you know what I mean? So it's really cool. But that's great, man. I'm glad to hear you're using this time creatively and productively. Where are you at in terms of like, have you been writing? You said you've been writing lyrics, and are you working on music? What's happening with you in terms of music right now?
Well, towards the beginning of, or actually it was in July, I had the a solo record come out. And so leading up to that, I was doing a lot of, live streams and stuff like that. I was doing, I did a series where like a tutorial series where I explained how to play all of the songs on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And then once that record came out, I started thinking, about the next two. So I'm planning on writing more stuff kind of as soon as the new year starts. But all
that's amazing.
This, I don't know if you're familiar with a site that I help run called Downright, where people can commission custom songs from a variety of artists. There's over 300 artists on there. I've been getting a decent amount of requests on there too. So it's just, again, that is another way where I can be creative and write songs, you know, without maybe having to worry about an album or touring or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I love that, and it just I love anything that promotes creativity and some kind of collective of people. Funny thing to mention, and by the way, before I move on, yeah, Celebration States is out now for anybody that hasn't checked it out already. That came out July 10th, and yeah, man, I'm so glad that you are keeping active with that. And if you're still writing now, that's crazy because this, again, it's still new. So, and
well, you know, normally you put out a record and then you go on tour, and I had a decent amount of touring planned for the year. It obviously all got canceled, but so, you know, I'm assuming there won't be any major touring things happening for at least the next 3, 4, 5, maybe longer months. So, you know, I'm just going to plan on writing something else. And the album that came out in July was like a cohesive sort of thing. That's what I want to do, another one of those.
got it. Yeah, like you write it as one piece.
Yeah, not like thematically, or because the last record was very concept, for lack of a better word. But maybe it's going to be maybe a little musically a little different, you know, maybe electronic or something, or I don't know. Being home and forced to stay home gave me another opportunity to try and hone some of my recording skills too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a cool thing about going solo is like you have that freedom where you don't have to, when you're in a band like Braid or Hey Mercedes or any band for that matter, you know, obviously you can do whatever you want, but there's a little bit of a pressure to kind of like stick within what it is, right? So to speak. Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit. You know, I want to take it back to like where you're from and how you got started with everything. I know the answers to some of these questions, but I'm going to kind of let you navigate this. But tell us where you're originally from and how did your hometown and your upbringing affect you musically, artistically, and you know, in that realm of your life.
Sure. I was born in Chicago and I grew up in Chicago and lived within the city limits. That's where I am now. I've basically been living in Chicago, around Chicago my whole life. But it wasn't until I went to high school and then my family moved to a western suburb called Lombard when I got courage and the encouragement from friends and stuff, and maybe we were just foolish to actually start playing music. But I've like since I was tiny baby, I've always loved music, and I think that's kind of regardless of wherever I would have ended up, because you know my parents weren't particularly musically inclined. It's not like we had music playing in the house really at all. For some reason, I just loved it. I needed the radio on all the time. I wanted them to buy me all of the records. I listened to the top 40 all the time. So I was constantly listening to music. I got into, like I said, top 40 new wave and stuff growing up, then a little bit into heavy metal. But it wasn't until high school, like around 89, when I decided to try this thing out myself.
What were the, that's awesome, like that you kind of just walked us through a little bit of like the styles that you were into, which I'm not surprised by, because if anyone's familiar with your early material, like really early material like I am, you can always hear your pop sensibilities and everything you do, but there was a lot of aggression too. So I imagine that came from maybe it was metal or maybe it was punk, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even as a kid, I loved The Clash, for instance, but they were on the pop chart, so
yeah.
I was trying.
What were some of the bands or artists in general that had an impact on you at that point in time, as you were developing?
Oh, when I was kind of a kid?
Yeah.
Kind of a kid. Definitely The Clash. I mean, when I was born in 75, so right around, MTV coming to town around 81 or something like that. Huge influence on me, just opening my eyes. And it wasn't just MTV, because where I lived, we didn't have cable, so I had to go to my friends to watch MTV, and I was watching some like rat junkie bootleg, some video program that was on in Chicago, and I think it was even British. So I got into a lot of like Adamant.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I think it was just, Adamant, The Clash. It was not, definitely they were musically interesting to me, but they added the element of being visually interesting too. I mean, The Clash dressed like Mad Max or something when
really cool aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Adamant, he had like, face paint and stuff, and they were like really tribal drums, and I was just really drawn to it. So definitely growing up, I loved The Clash. And then like I said, I got into, some like heavy metal, like Def Leppard and stuff. And
right.
I think everyone kind of goes through the phases of kind of figuring out what they like and finding bits and pieces of different genres that they gel with.
Sure, and that's what was around back then too. I mean, I'm not too far behind you in age, so that's kind of what's on the radio and what's on TV at the time. Yeah. We're really lucky for that, I think. I loved all that stuff still to this day.
I know. I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, I guess we could imagine what it's like for somebody who grew up when when it was like Napster time, or like internet, where that whole how did that affect somebody's tastes and attraction to music?
Exactly. I'm always really interested and fascinated in different generations and how they're exposed to stuff, even just going back to before us, but I'll go off on a whole tangent if we go down that rabbit hole. But in terms of guitar and singing, like, when did you realize you had a voice, and how did you learn how to play guitar?
Again, tiny baby, I was singing a lot. According to my parents, I don't know, they said I was singing before I was even talking. So like I said, I was just very drawn to that, for lack of a better word. I always sang along to stuff on the radio. I used to get in trouble in class for singing, stuff. That happened a lot in school. And so when the time came for me to be in a band, and the first real band I was in high school was called Friction, and I actually played drums.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
For Friction, right? But it was a 3-piece, and the bass player and the guitar player didn't want to sing, or maybe just felt uncomfortable singing. But I was just like, yeah, I will sing. I know how to do that. So I had to sing and play drums for that.
No shit, like Phil Collins style, huh?
I know, but I didn't have the headset.
Okay. What did that band sound like? What was that kind of band?
I was just listening to that recently. We put out a record on Allied Recordings. That came, I think, in 94?
Okay.
93 or 94? Probably 93. I don't know.
Wow, I gotta check that out.
It is it's so Jawbreaker. It sounds so much like Jawbreaker. And I didn't really even realize it at the time. And to be honest, I didn't realize it 2 months ago when I went back and I was listening to some stuff. That's another project I had during quarantine, was sort of cataloging some of the old songs and stuff. So I listened to the old record, and I was like, this is just blatant rip of Jawbreaker.
And it's a good band to rip off, and that you wouldn't be the only one,
No, that's true. So I mean, we had that, but in terms of playing guitar, so Friction was when I was in high school here, and then when I went to college, I went to U of I in Champaign-Urbana, and I didn't want to bring my drums down there because I had to live in a dorm, and I don't know, I just wasn't sure I'd be able to do it. So I had a guitar, just a crappy guitar some friend gave me, or a friend's dad gave me, or something like that. And so I decided to take that with me instead. And it's just so happened one of the first people I met and hung out with was Roy Ewing, who was a drummer. And so him and I were like,
he was the first drummer, right?
I'll sing, I'll play guitar, and that was Braid. Yeah, he was the first drummer, Braid. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, interesting. So kind of morphed into Braid, pretty much.
Oh yeah, and they overlapped a little bit. Friction and Braid overlapped a bit.
Okay, it was were the future members was Chris Broach or anyone else in the band as well?
Yeah, Todd in Friction.
Okay, in
No,
Friction. No.
no,
Okay.
no. The two other guys in Friction um, didn't go to U of I. One went to Michigan, and one was older than us, so he just stayed in the Chicagoland area.
Okay.
Well, when I came to Champaign, I met Roy. He introduced me to Todd, who played bass. And then we had a friend of mine from the area, Pete, played guitar in Braid for the first year, basically. And then the next year, Chris Broach came to Champaign. He's a year younger than me. And then he joined Braid, and then it sort of hit.
That's awesome, man. That was my next question. So we kind of just like eased into it seamlessly. Now, knowing that you play drums, which I didn't know, explains a lot. Yeah, yeah. I play drums in Spotlights.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we hung out last year. Yeah.
It's pretty close to my house. I think we went to someone's house, and
we went to someone's house down the street from you and hung out. I went to sleep pretty early because I'm sober, so I just passed out.
It's all good.
Yeah, it was fun though. I was stoked. I was like, oh, I listened to this guy's band so much back in the day. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Your pick arm, I can see like where that comes from if you're a drummer because it's very percussive. The way that you strum, which is cool. I love sort of like putting that kind of stuff together. What's the creative process like for Braid? And I'm gonna make this a loaded question because you mentioned some of the stuff like that you were into growing up, and Braid did some really cool covers that I loved. You did a Pixies cover, a Smiths cover, and my favorite, which was Burt Bacharach. I love that cover, man.
Yeah.
So maybe you could talk about the band's influences and the creative process a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, Friction was 100% influenced by Jawbreaker. But when Braid started, we were listening to a lot more of the Discord catalog, the entire Discord catalog.
Yeah.
Fugazi, Jawbox, Hoover. These were bands that we loved, and anytime they came to Chicago, we would go see them play. June of '44 is another one, and those were really kind of the major influences that were driving what we were doing at the time. Yeah. What was the second part of that question?
No, I love that because I was super. I mean, you can hear it. I mean, you guys will get into Frame and Canvas, but you recorded with Jay Robbins, and that sound totally comes out in both you and Chris's guitar playing. It's very angular. But what you guys bring to it, which maybe the cover songs that you had done, it kind of explains it. You bring a sense of pop sensibility and melody to that angular sound, and that to me is what makes Braid what it is.
Yeah, thanks. I think Jawbox does a really good job of that too. That's growing up in high school, really loving Jawbreaker and Green Day and stuff, like really kind of the East Bay stuff, like Sam.
Yep.
Monsula, these were Cringer, all of those bands we loved from East Bay. Once, I got to college, it became a little more of the groovy, angular stuff, like Fugazi, for instance, is a prime example of that. But, you still bring in some of the influences that you loved from Jawbreaker and Green Day and stuff like that. But I think Jawbox is a good example of the band that really did that really well.
For sure. And so then when the band started, playing shows and doing some of the first tours on that first record, what was the reception like? When did you notice that you were starting to get a bit of a fan base?
The first year didn't do a lot of. We played a lot of shows in town in Champaign, Indiana. We didn't tour too much until the second year of our existence, which was '94. Actually, no, '95 basically. And we played a lot, and because we loved all of these bands like Fugazi, again Hoover, these were bands there was a band called Lincoln
Oh, Lincoln was amazing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But we would like trade videos when if we didn't never saw the band play, we'd have videos of them playing. And these bands were so, Fugazi of course, but like, so captivating.
Yeah.
Live, couldn't take your eyes off of them. They were just had like such amazing, entrancing stage presence. I mean, a band like Fugazi, you don't, it's hard. It's
It's
hard
captivating.
for somebody who wasn't there to be like, you don't understand what it's like watching this band play. It was in your complete engrossing experience. Yeah. So, how I was talking about watching something like Adamant or The Clash or something like that. That's just an element that we had to bring to Braid, and specifically the live shows. Mm-hmm. So we want shows to be epic, like a really fun and epic thing to see and be a part of, and just to have fun playing the songs and just really show that to people.
Yeah, I got that sense watching you that you're having fun all the time, which I really enjoyed about Braid. Fugazi's so serious. Not that they're having fun, but not that they're not having fun, but you guys definitely had like a little bit of a more laid back sense of humor and that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Then once we started touring a lot, and we just once we started touring, we did it a lot. We really didn't slow down. That's when more people were able to come see us play. Right? We'd go through a town like Little Rock or something, and there would be 20 people there. And then we would just, it didn't really matter if there were 20 people there, or 5 people there, or 100 people there. We were just, we just brought it every night, or we at least tried to. And so then the next time we would come to Little Rock, it would be, like 3 times as many people, because everyone had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And eventually, because I found out about you guys because of Frame and Canvas. I had some friends that lived in Chicago that originally I had some of the early material on some mixtapes and things. That's how things circulated back then. Obviously, to anyone below 35 watching, the mixtapes were a big thing. But when I got Frame and Canvas, the whole record for me, start to finish, it's one of those records that like I was really into, not skipping a track. It had a lot of, again, angular but melodic guitar parts, and I gotta say, incredible drumming.
Oh yeah,
shout out to, and that was with Enter Damon, who he is unbelievable. Can you talk to me about how that time period how you linked up with Polyvinyl? And then eventually you get Jay Robbins behind the board recording you guys?
Yeah. Well, the first Braid show was December 10th, 1993 in Danville, Illinois. And Danville is like an hour or so east of Champaign-Urbana, kind of near the border of Indiana. Did I say Indiana? East of Urbana.
Okay.
Near the border of Indiana. And there was like a skate crew there that put on shows at this park, like a field house of a park, Garfield Park. And one of these skate kids, he's kind of basically our age at the time, was Matt Lunsford, who pretty soon around that time started to do this zine called Polyvinyl. Him and his friends would put.
Got it.
And he started to put out some records here and there. And so I think I met Matt through Todd and Roy, sort of from Champaign, knew this, this sort of skate scene. And so we've known Matt, who runs Polyvinyl since the very beginning. And so once the first 2 records one came out on Divot, our friend here from Chicago. Next one came out on Mud, which is a label from Urbana. When it was time to do the Frame and Canvas album, Matt from Polyvinyl, we had done like a 7-inch or 2 with him. His label had now become a bigger operation, more serious, more official, and I don't recall exactly, but they must have had some budget to do
Yeah.
it. And then we wanted Jay to do it. We played in DC. I think the tour before we toured with this, we did a bunch of shows with this band Corm. One of the guys was in Q.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. I love that band.
But so we met Jay, we met Kim Collette well, and he said he wanted to do the record, and so Polyvinyl put up the money for us to record, but we had to drive from Chicago to DC to record it. So we played shows on the way to DC to record it, and then we recorded Inner Ear, which is like
legendary. Yeah, especially if you're coming from that school of music that you mentioned. If you listen to all that Don Zientara Discord catalog, dude, I can't believe you played shows on the way there, because that had to have like messed your voice, fucked with you a little bit. No?
Yeah, maybe I could have sounded like Craig Wedren on.
Nobody can sound like Craig Wedren, but no, I mean the record to me is a perfect record. But I'm thinking about like what kind of strain that might have put on you when you like finally was your turn to go in and
yeah.
Let's backtrack for a second.
It took me a while to get like really hardcore about protecting my voice. I think at that point I just winged it.
Right, punk rock vibe,
Yeah. Then I got older.
Let's talk again, because I kind of breezed through some of the questions, and we talked about influences, but I wanted to delve into the creative process, because now that we're on Frame and Canvas, I could speak to that probably a little more specifically. Like the drums are just fucking pummeling, and there's the record starts out with a cool little drum intro. You could tell listening to it that it's not like a band, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, where it's like a singer-songwriter coming in and saying, hey, check this out. It sounds collaborative. Am I picking up on that correctly?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, we all lived together during that time when we were writing Frame and Canvas. Chris, Todd, and I did.
Okay.
In Milwaukee, or near Milwaukee at the time. So he would come down every weekend, basically, and we would spend the whole weekends practicing. But yeah, Chris and Todd and I lived together, so we didn't have anything to do other than like
jam
music. Yeah, exactly. Write stuff. And so it was 100% collaborative. It wasn't, normally Chris or I would have a kind of part that we would just bring to everybody, or bring to Todd, or bring to each other, and then kind of go from there. Then we would all jump in. And then once Damon came in, we sort of had an idea maybe of how the drums would sound in it, but he brought that element of like just a powerful drummer like Zach Barocas. Or
you just read my mind. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna say when Zach joined Jawbox, and by the way, Adam Wade is an amazing drummer, one of the best. But when Zach joined Jawbox, the band changed, and I felt like when Damon showed up, it was the same thing.
Yeah, and I think Damon, was already a really amazing drummer, but our original drummer, Roy, was also an amazing drummer in his own right. He had a completely different style. In fact, 2 of the songs on Frame and Canvas, maybe more, 2, I think Urbana's Too Dark and the song Constellation Prize Fighter were written by Roy. So Roy wrote those drum parts, and then Damon came in and learned them. Like Roy and Braid, we broke up amicably, and then he wasn't into touring as much anymore, playing or whatever. But so Damon having to learn Roy's parts probably created this new like a new aspect of Damon's playing, which was pretty cool.
For sure, yeah. And you had eventually come out with a record that has some different versions of songs. Was it Movie Music Volume 1 and 2? Yeah.
Yep. Those
cool.
early versions are on there with
Roy. I love that. And so we just got through that. I was just curious about how like kind of you guys crafted a lot of that stuff. Now, you have a very big fan base in New York. I want to kind of talk about that for a second because it's a St. Vitus podcast and you
Of
played at
course.
St. Vitus. And I was actually just kind of wondering about that as a side note because I saw you play at Brownies in the 90s and it was packed.
Was it with Burning Airlines? No.
I believe it may or may not. I was a huge Burning Airlines fan. I don't remember if they played that show with you. They might have.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because one of the first Braid tour, maybe it wasn't the first Braid tour, but we were touring with Get Up Kids, I believe, and we were playing big shows, and we played this fest in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania that was just like a huge fest, and Coalesce played Hot Water Music, and it was awesome, and people were going crazy. And on that tour, we played Brownies on that tour, and there was like nobody there.
Was it the Frame and Canvas time period?
It was before that.
Oh no! So I saw you on Frame and Canvas. It was definitely packed. So it was probably Burning.
It's like it was a shock to me, and I remember calling my friend and being like, "Man, I thought we were doing well, and here we are."
Well, I noticed over the years too, because I've almost never missed a show. I saw the Braid reunion at St. Vitus, which was after party that was really late at night, and then I also got to see the Hey Mercedes reunion at Baby's All Right, and certainly a bunch of shows that are a blur to me in between. But did you play in New York a lot and have a lot of friends here, or was New York one of the biggest markets for you?
Eventually it became that because we had friends there. We were played it's close enough to Chicago that it's a nice destination to drive there, play shows, and then come back or whatever, do that sort of loop. And so we ended up playing there a lot, making a lot of friends there, and it's New York loves you, man. Let's talk. Somebody just commented some list of bands from back then that were great, and I'm curious maybe if you could talk about some of the bands that you shared stages with and toured with regularly. Burning Airlines, who you did a split with on that covers where they did Echo and the Bunnymen and you did Burnt Backrack. Such a good split. But who were some of the peers that you were always playing with? Well, Get Up Kids for sure. We probably played close to 100 shows just with the Get Up Kids.
Wow. We
did Europe with them. We actually did Europe with Burning Airlines, so we did a lot of shows with Burning Airlines. Braid, we did a lot of shows with Castor. Castor was a band from Champaign-Urbana.
Really good band, yeah.
Friends of ours brought them out. Who else did we tour? We did a tour with Discount.
Oh yeah, were they from Florida?
They were from Florida. We did like a short tour with Less Than Jake. That was a bit.
Wow.
But for Seaweed, Seaweed was one of my favorite bands.
Talking about them so much. I was talking to Alan from Seaweed last night. They are so underrated, man. Like, fuck, what a great band. Yeah, Spanaway. That's awesome.
Yeah, Weak is my favorite Seaweed record. I just love it. But those were. I don't call Seaweed maybe a peer, but Get Up Kids for sure.
Right. That's awesome, man. I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit because there were so many great bands from that time period, and you never know. Some people that might be watching may not have come from back then or been familiar. So I hope they go on Spotify or however you listen to music and check out some of these bands that we're talking about.
Yeah. Kerosene 454, Blue Tip, Boys Life. We did definitely play with those bands. We never toured with any of those bands, and now pretty good friends with John from Boys Life, who lives here in Chicago. So
yeah, another amazing band too. Yeah. So I don't want you to feel like you have to get too into drama here, but why did Braid break up at a point when it seemed like you were really starting to take off?
Drama. I don't think it occurred to us that it was about to take off. I think even at that time, we felt kind of, despite all of the touring we did, despite all the work we put into it, I think we felt a tiny bit left behind in the sort of mania. I'm not really sure.
The explosion of when it sort of became mainstream for a while.
A little bit. I mean, there was definitely, I think, an aspect of it that was weighing on us a little bit because we were, like I said, doing so much work, putting so much work into it. And then when we were home from tour, we lived together. So like,
yeah, that's a lot.
The combination of nonstop touring and like zero personal space, just getting nerves, how you would expect that to happen with any friend group that was literally stuck in a box
For sure.
For months and months at a time. Combined with the fact that I don't know if we definitely didn't get the vibe that we were like on some sort of precipice. Maybe if we did, we might have stayed together, but probably not. I think that even if that was the case, we probably would have succumbed to the burnout and burnout with touring, the schedule, and burnout with each other.
I can totally understand that too. Having been in bands back then, right before that explosion, I don't think any of us knew, because you're playing with your friends first of all, so it's like not exactly like this like sort of like what I'll call today is like this like American Voice put together band where it's like there's a career aspiration and like rules and things. It's like literally just like having fun. You're not thinking about this, and then the fucking whole thing blows up for a while, and you're like, whoa, how did this happen? But you didn't stop though. Because you went on to do Hey Mercedes, which we're going to get into now, and you signed to a label that had a lot of those big bands. So the band breaks up, at least temporarily at the time. By the way, first of all, what was that last show like before I move on for you? Because I know there's a last show. Must have been pretty intense.
Fun, really, really exhilarating. The last show was actually in Champaign at a place called Mabel's, but I think the one that was at Fireside Bowl the night before was just so much fun. We had a wheel on stage with all of our songs on it. We gave away prizes to everybody. We had all of our friends on stage singing along. It was a great send-off.
That's awesome. I love that. And it came out on a live record too, right?
Yep, live record, and there was a DVD too.
Yeah. So then Hey Mercedes enters the picture, which is pretty much almost all of you guys. The EP, I remember because I bought it at the time, the EP and LP was received very well, it seemed. And you already had some, underground success to piggyback off of. Now let's talk about that time period. That album that came out, Every Night Fireworks, is great. We just got a comment there about how if this person was on a desert island and only had that to listen to, they'd be cool with that. I know people a little bit younger than me that, like is my favorite thing from your catalog is Frame and Canvas. I have a lot of friends where the first Hey Mercedes record is their introduction to you, and that's their favorite. So we want to talk about that band, how it came together, and how you landed on Vagrant, what was going on at that time.
Yeah. So I mentioned that Braid toured relentlessly with the Get Up Kids. Braid broke up, and then when Hey Mercedes started, the Get Up Kids had already signed to Vagrant, and they were sort of doing their own imprints almost called Heroes and Villains. But, they were sort of like courting more bands or their friends' bands to come onto Vagrant. And so when we were looking for a label, they were like, sign to Vagrant. And so we did. And then they were able to put out Every Night Fireworks. We recorded it again with Jay. But we recorded Pachyderm, which is kind of near Minneapolis. I think it's south of Minneapolis, in Minnesota. And it's this like amazing in the middle of the woods kind of compound where there's a big house with a bunch of rooms, bedrooms and stuff. There's a pool.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a dream, man.
Where there was a sauna. Yeah.
What the fuck?
There was a separate a separate like building where the studio was.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
It was incredible, and I think maybe maybe an Alkaline Trio was From Here to Infirmary. Maybe it was recorded there, but I know that part of what was there, Nirvana? I don't know. There's a lot of records. That
was there a Nirvana? What In Utero?
I don't think that was done. I should have checked.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, somebody just said In Utero was recorded there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a wonderful getaway tour. You can really just focus on the album, and so that's what we did. That's where we did Every Night Fireworks. We just went to that place and stayed there for something like 2 weeks or something, and did it. And then we mixed it at Smart Studios in.
I love the production. I love that production.
Thank you.
It's great. It's so raw and powerful.
Yeah, me too. Jay is just a genius. He's an absolute. And I love that we got to work with him a few times.
Absolutely. The fact that you were on Vagrant and in the company of Get Up Kids during their success rising, and I think like Alkaline Trio, I think was on Vagrant too, right? That I think was met with a lot of bigger tour opportunities and things. If I'm not mistaken, go ahead, talk about like when the album came out. What kind of tours were you going on, and what was happening with the band?
And yeah, we were on a bit of a roll with tours. I think one of the first, we did a Vagrant America tour, which was just so happened that when our record came out, they were doing this sort of rolling festival of a tour where it was like a bunch of Vagrant bands in buses. Like we were on a tour bus. I was on a tour bus for the first time in my entire life. Us and Saves the Day and Hot Rod Circuit and Alkaline Trio was on some of it. Dashboard Confessional was on some of it. So we were touring with them, the anniversary. We also toured with Jimmy Eat World right around that time. That was when Bleed American came, like kind of right when Bleed American came out. We were on tour with Jimmy Eat World.
Very big time for them, yeah.
And we went on tour with Jets to Brazil at that time too, and then a New End Original as well. And like right off the bat, we were just going on some amazing. We had some amazing.
Those are amazing shows. Amazing shows. Yeah. I saw a lot of the shows at that time and tours you were doing that they were coming to New York, and it was just really cool because I saw that sort of explosion happening, and I was rooting for you, and I was just like, this is cool to see them kind of like come up a little bit. And then Loses Control was a solid album as well. The band eventually broke up though, so not to get into it too much, but like, because eventually it's fine, everyone got back together and did more shows and some recordings, but why did the band stop at that point?
Well, that was around 2004. We had done Loses Control, did a bunch of touring with that. We were touring with a different group of bands at that time. We weren't touring with those saves, like the bands like Saves the Day and stuff ended up going on and things, and so they weren't doing as many of the headlining slots. So we were going on tour with like Sensefield, which was cool.
Oh my God, what a band! Yeah.
But also like Wheat. There was a band called Wheat we went on tour with that was more of a indie rock, I would say. And then we went on tour with Avail.
Oh, dude, that's like one of my favorite bands from back then. So good. I would have killed to see that, Bill.
It was cool. It was Avail, Hey Mercedes, All American Rejects.
Wow, what a weird tour.
I know.
That's crazy.
And the All American Rejects was opening the shows. They were just like some new band.
Yeah, I remember when they were opening shows back then. But just like, that's weird. But like Avail, Hey Mercedes is a fucking really cool bill.
Yeah, that was a fun tour as well. But in 2004, Braid decided to do a tour, to like kind of do a comeback sort of tour or like a reunion tour. I don't think at the time we weren't coming back; we were just doing a reunion tour.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mike, who played guitar in Hey Mercedes at the time, came on that tour because he's a very excellent sound engineer as well. So he was just, that's what he still does now for Thrice and a lot of big bands.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he went on tour with us, and then like at the end of the tour, he moved to Cleveland. He's from Cleveland, but he moved to Milwaukee when he joined Hey Mercedes to be closer to us so we can practice and stuff. Then he moved back to Cleveland, and we just sort of stopped touring. But it was weird because we never really officially broke up.
Okay, yeah, it's just life, moving and doing stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the band kept going, in terms of like, I did see you a few more times after like there was a hiatus, I guess, and I'm glad that we had those experiences because they were such good shows. Braid did some reunions, as you mentioned, and then eventually you did No Coast in 2014, which was a really nice surprise. What was the reception like for that album? And maybe since we're at that sort of stretch here, like what is up with Braid today? Maybe kind of walk
Sure.
us through that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Chris Broach and I reconnected in like 2010, 2011-ish. We started doing like an emo DJ night.
Right.
This was before that was even a thing. But we were doing that. We just, maybe get together and write some more songs. And so we ended up doing that. And then, Todd and Damon were on board. So we wrote No Coast. Chris and I wrote most of it, because we both lived in the Chicago area. Damon now at that point lived in Nashville, and Todd still lived in Milwaukee. So it was a little bit more of a disjointed process of practicing, but we did that, and we recorded that with Will Yip.
Oh, what a producer. Yeah, he does a lot of big stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanted a new, just to try out some new perspective, somebody who was working with like some of the newer bands that were getting popular around the time, or bands that we admired around the time that we liked the records, especially like Damon in between Hey Mercedes sort of disbanding and Braid getting back together. He had done a lot of work touring. He was doing work for Warped Tour. He was doing a lot of tour management for other bands and stuff.
Did he work with Thrice also? Am I making that up?
He did.
Yeah.
So they had a little bit more of a, like a finger on the pulse of what was sort of getting big at the time. I wanted No Coast to sound of that time. I didn't want it to sound like old dudes trying to like coast. I mean, that was why one of the reasons when we called it coast is like I didn't want it to sound like just coasting and like throwing out some rap that was blah. I don't know, blah. Do it. It's going to be fun. And I was like, no, I really wanted it to be
contemporary, for lack of a better word.
Powerful, energetic, youthful.
Yeah. I think you accomplished that for sure. All of your music to me is you're lucky in this. I said this to Blair from Knapsack the other day on the show too. Like music that doesn't sound dated in the sense where you go, oh wow, that didn't age very well, which is the case. You can say that about like hair metal, or for lack of, I can't think of a better example right now, but your music has aged very well, I think. And it's because, it's kind of no frills. It's, dudes with guitars, you're not really trying to do anything too crazy, but the production on that Will gave you on No Coast is definitely very clean and a little different, but it works,
Yeah, I agree. And Will's a drummer as well. So like he spent a lot of time with Damon getting those, getting all the drum sounds working good. And then Chris Broach actually went back up with him for his project as well. In terms of what Braid is up to now, Chris is actually going through some health things right now. He's pretty much in the clear.
Oh, good.
But yeah, he had sort of a rough year in terms of that. But we talk pretty often, all four of us. We've been getting on like Zoom calls and stuff, just like keeping up with each other. We have a few ideas, maybe doing something here or there next year. So, I mean, the door is open.
That's great to hear.
There's nothing planned yet. We just want to make sure Chris gets to be 100%.
You know, what's great about Braid too is that it's one of those bands that you can't really replace anybody, and and then keep going. Those are the best bands to me, where every member is integral to the group. But and Damon, I want to shout out specifically because I might have mentioned in the intro, we're both a member of this thing called Indie Drummer Collective, and he posts a lot of cool cover songs. Oddly enough, I just got an alert that he just finished his cover about 5 minutes ago. So he's going to be posting some cool stuff on his page. So check him out.
I love that. I was just, I was on Jim Atkins' podcast, and Zach from Jimmy Eat World is in the Indie Drummer Collective too.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how I love, what a cool idea. I love it.
So fun.
I love Aaron too, and you had Aaron on the podcast, right?
Aaron from Minus the Bear. That's right. Yeah.
Braid did our whole 2004 tour was with Minus the Bear.
Oh man, what a cool bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, we got a question from Jesse S. There was a Hey Mercedes instrumental cover that you did vocals for recently. Will it ever be released?
So yeah, I'm on Patreon. Yeah, because I released it on Patreon, and that's been a really cool thing to do. I've been doing that actually for a few years now. That's not a quarantine.
Yeah.
Reaction to quarantine. I'm doing it for a few years now, so that's been really fun because I do a lot of covers. I do tutorials on there. I do podcasts on there. I listen to new music, and I write stuff. Whatever. There's a lot of stuff there. If you want to go check it out, it's
absolutely, please. Yeah.
But I do a special cover for Patreon every month. And this past month, I told you I was, going through some of the old cataloging recordings and stuff, and I found this instrumental demo that Hey Mercedes did of the song Solar System by the Posies.
Oh, nice, yeah.
When Hey Mercedes was writing the album Loses Control, we went to this cabin up in northern Wisconsin and did all the demos there. We were going to do two covers. In that section. We ended up doing none for that, but we were going to do Solar Sister by the Posies, and we were going to do Overkill by Men at Work, which is a great song.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we never recorded a demo of Overkill, but we recorded a demo of Solar Sister, and I had it, no vocals on it. So I thought, this is fun. I'll do vocals in my apartment on this old demo from 2002 or 3 and just release it and see how it goes. And it was so much fun to do. Will it ever be released? Maybe. I might want to redo the vocals at an actual place, or at least have somebody a little more competent than I recording it. But it's possible.
Awesome. So that let's let everybody know a little bit more before we wrap it up of where to find about these things that you're talking about. Like, so maybe drop some socials, anything that you can kind of like let everyone know so they can follow you and be engaged in what you're doing.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. This, Instagram, Hey Bob Nanna. Most of the stuff is Hey Bob Nanna, YBOBNA. You can get to there from bobnanna.com as well. So I do, I help run Downright, and I'm on Downright as an artist doing custom commissions for people. I'm on Patreon doing just fun stuff literally every day. Something new is dropping on Patreon. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
Well, they can follow you on Instagram probably to see everything there, right? Is your account public?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's all there. I mean, you can go to my Bandcamp page, my Downright profile. You can get to where my podcast is. Yeah, it's all pretty easy to find. I'm not hidden.
And the solo album Celebration States is out now. And pick it up at your Bandcamp or stream it however you want to support Bob and check out his music. But yeah, and anybody watching, if you tuned in too late and you want to watch this from the top, you can do so on the St. Vitus Instagram or watch this on YouTube on my channel. But yeah, man, this is awesome. I'm so glad we got to do this because. And I hope that we get to hang out again in person and get to chop it up a little more.
I hope so. Somebody is spotlights is commenting. Is that Mario or Sarah?
Yeah, that's probably Mario or Sarah. BobIsTheBest.com.
Yeah, I mean, spotlights. You guys do a lot of touring and came through here. I always try and come and see you when you come through. So I'm assuming once we get the all clear, the floodgates will open, and
yes,
it'll be not a night will go by where there's not like somebody in town, or maybe I'll just go right out on tour.
Please, and when you're in New York, please get in touch so we can hang out. But yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing because everyone's stoked that you have music out all the time and that you're always active. It's great to see you nonstop with everything that you're doing. So
yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking me on.
Absolutely. Stay safe out there, my friend.
You too.
Okay. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. That was a lot of fun. Age of Quarantine. We'll be back here tomorrow with Nathaniel Shannon, and we'll have a lot of new guests next week to be announced. And if you want to support St. Vitus and pick up new merch, go to the St. Vitus Bar shop online, and you can watch past episodes here on the Instagram channel, or go look me up on YouTube, Christopher Enriquez, and you see a bunch of episodes on there. But stay safe out there, everybody, okay? Take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.